Hi everyone, it's Lou Collins. Thank you for joining me on the CraftStash channel. Now today I'm going to talk to you about making the most of your crafting time, particularly if you need quick cards. So we're talking about creating more than one card at once, essentially using the waste from any of your die cuts or from your trimmer when you're cutting panels. So I've got 3 different card designs here that you can create, sometimes 2, sometimes even 3 or 4 cards from if you want to, and you're not actually creating a second card. It's all from the waste from the first one. So everything I'm using can be found down below, and of course don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you enjoy it. Now let's get on with the tutorial. So for this first card, all you're going to need is 4 different coloured scraps of cardstock and 4 nesting dies. So I've actually chosen my nesting dies from the Creative Craft Products Super Size nesting dies, the circular ones. And because there's so many of these and they are really tiny increments, allowing us lots of different options for sizes of circles, I've actually gone with every other circle in this small range so that I've got slightly larger circles cut out. So I'm going to cut each one of these 4 circular dies from each one of these 4 papers, giving me 16 circles in total. Now when I cut these, it's nice and easy and quicker if I actually adhere them together with a low tack tape and then just use that and transfer it to each of the other 4 colours. So by sticking them all together like this, they're going to remain as one piece, so I can simply go through each of the 4 cardstocks. Now if you're also using a lightweight of cardstock, it's very easy to also cut through 2 layers at a time to speed up your card making if you're in a hurry. If you've taped your dies together, you'll also have the added benefit of the waste, which will layer up nicely. If you slightly offset that and trim it all down to the same size, you've got a really fun aperture that's perfect for stamping inside the circles or even adding as a shaker element. When cutting any circles, if you take your waste pieces and turn them at different angles, you also have some really fun shapes here too. Next, you want to cut all of your circles in half. To make sure you get this completely accurate, I would say fold the first of your circles in any size. Pop it into your trimmer along that fold line and just make a note of whereabouts your circle comes to on your trimmer so that you can repeat this for each one of the next sizes. Now you've got absolutely loads of circles to start layering up, but you want to ensure that you layer up to the same for each of your cards. So for example, I'm going to take this light pale lilac second size circle and glue it directly on top of the bright pink larger circle, and then I'm going to do the same again with this one. And then I'm going to keep working my way down through the sizes, ensuring that each of the semicircles pairs have the same colours. Now you have the option for actually making 4 different cards using just one die effectively when you tape them all together and cutting it from the 4 different chosen colour cardstocks. So when you're sticking them together, you want to ensure that the outer and the second circle on one pair is the opposite to the outer and the second circle on another pair, so that you can place them together overlapping the 2 bars or the 2 lines like so that flows into a semicircle. Now simply by gluing those down and putting a sentiment strip across the bar there, across the join, you've got yourself a really simple, beautiful card. But you could also, if you wanted to, rather than making 4 cards the same, you could take your spare pieces and you could continue that pattern off the edge of your card as well, just trimming the sides there. So now I have that continuous line of those 2 outer circles going around the card, and then I also have these offcuts which still have that continuous pattern. I could pop these onto a smaller card base and use those as a fun background too. Onto a second card, I can of course repeat this completely with the other pair of circles, and we don't have to use just one line, we can stagger them and use 2 as well. Now the next card is simply the easiest card that you can make two of at once. So you want to take two pattern papers that you think will work together and trim them both down together to the size that will fit your card bases. So I'm going to be working on a 5x7 card. These are A5 pieces of paper, so I'm going to just trim those down accordingly. Now, because these papers did have an edge to them, so for example on the music paper sheet there's the border around the edge, and I want to ensure that I don't have a border just on one or two sides of my paper. I'm going to trim round each of the edges first, just a little bit to remove that border, and then measure and cut my panels. Now I'm cutting through both layers at the same time to ensure they're exactly the same size, and I'm using the Creative Craft Products trimmer because this has a really nice sharp blade on it and it will easily go through two layers at once. So I've got my two pieces of paper and both of these will fit onto my 5x7 card bases. So I'm now going to layer them both together again and I'm going to cut them both. Now I can cut these both either completely horizontally or I could cut them at an angle. Either way, I'm going to go horizontal with this one. So I'm just going to go around about 1/3 of the way down my card base and trim through both layers. Now I can place the larger base on the card and the smaller base from the other sheet on the top with something like a piece of ribbon around the middle, and I can do the same with these ones. So I've then got the alternative with the larger base at the top and such, or we can flip it and we can have the same pink at the bottom and the blue at the top, whichever takes your fancy. With a simple ribbon and a sentiment there, I've got one card with my two different patterns of paper, which I would usually do anyway, but rather than randomly cutting these and having odd shaped waste, I've got the perfect shape and sized waste to create a very similar card. Again, I can pop ribbon or twine over the join, the sentiment strip over there if I wish, and then create a similar card but different with no additional pattern paper wasted. Another way of creating a fun double card, so you can use the waste as such for a second card, is using an image die and then something like an oval, a circle, a square, a hexagon, so a simple shaped die. And I tend to reach for my nesting dies again here because I can find the perfect size that will fit around our image die here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a panel of cardstock that is large enough to fit my biggest card base if you're not doing the same size card bases, and this is just a plain panel of cardstock this time, just to show you the technique. Of course you could go with patterned paper if you wanted, you could layer pattern paper behind, ink blend into it, whatever it may be. And we're going to simply cut both these dies, and I'm going to put the image die there inside the oval. Like I say, this doesn't have to be an oval. It doesn't have to be a leaf, of course, either. This is from my Textures Magnolia Drive collection. It could be any image die that you already have. But you want to look for something that actually creates a really nice silhouette. And I'm just going to tape the two of these down. Now the cardstock I'm going through is quite a heavy weight, which is kind of irrelevant, but it does mean that I may have to run this through the die cutting machine a couple of times to get a good cut in the detail. So now I've cut this, I'm going to carefully release my low tack tape and remove each of the shapes. So when I spoke about a silhouette, that's the shape that we're looking for with this particular leaf die, which I think is a beautiful silhouette, and we can definitely use that on its own. So I'm going to separate these and I'm going to place the outer frame that we've created here onto one card with the leaf in the centre, and then the remaining silhouette I'm going to place just on there. Now something like a nice ink splat would look beautiful here on both of them behind, or like I say, something like a patterned paper that you could use to match both, and you've easily got two really quick and simple cards that you can quickly decorate, pop a sentiment on and send if you're in a hurry. So although I've created very, very simple basic cards for you that you can make at home very quickly, doing 2, 3, even 4 for one if you wanted to, the takeaway here is that if you're really careful with your cutting or your die cutting, when you are cutting out a shape for one card, you can very often then use the waste or the negative part for another card. So just keep that in mind when you are cutting into any of your papers. So if you like tip and trick videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the CraftStash YouTube channel, and we think you're also really going to like this video that's just here. Take care everybody, I'll see you again very soon.